Today's episode is sponsored by Blinkist, the app that lets you read or listen to an entire nonfiction book in just 15 minutes. You can try Blinkist totally free and get 25% off a subscription when you go to Blinkist.com/David Pakman. I've put the link right below this video. We do have major breaking news. President Donald Trump has announced that he has tested positive for coronavirus, and there are so many layers to discuss. I hope to discuss all of them. Let's go through it in sequence. First, what has been alleged? What do we believe that we know about the situation? Well, late last night, early this morning, close to 1 a.m. Eastern time, Donald Trump tweeted, "Today, First Lady of the United States and I," meaning Melania, "tested positive for COVID-19. We will begin our quarantine and recovery process immediately. We will get through this together." News of this came after it was announced that a close staffer to Donald Trump, Hope Hicks, had tested positive. Now, already, just based on the facts, with no speculation, we know that irresponsible behavior took place here. We've since learned that there was actually a concern about Hope Hicks early on Thursday, and that Donald Trump, knowing he had been exposed, still went to a fundraiser, did not wear a mask, and we don't know how many more people were exposed as a result of Donald Trump's behavior after being in contact with Hope Hicks. Not surprising, he's not taken it seriously from the beginning. Second, a ton of people don't believe this, and I am not asserting any conspiracy, but when I woke up this morning, the number of people who had emailed me saying, this is a ruse to get out of the debates, Trump doesn't really have coronavirus, this is a staged plan to, in 10 days or 12 days, for Trump to come out and say, I beat it, I told you it's no big deal, to make him seem strong to his followers, maybe to say I beat it with hydroxy or I beat it with remdesivir. We have such great treatments, or plasma or whatever, right? The counter to that would be, yeah, I mean, I get it. Trump lies all the time and he might be lying about everything, including this. Wouldn't just getting it make him look weak to some of his supporters? It seems like an potentially risky gambit to lie about having it to then lie about beating it. But there is widespread concern about this. The sort of less wacky idea that a lot of people are emailing me about is, well, isn't it possible that this is an escape pod for Donald Trump? Because he sees the writing on the wall. After that first debate, the odds of Biden winning have gone up. The odds of Biden winning, of Trump winning, have gone down. And Donald Trump, we knew all along that if he lost, he was going to say, I got screwed by coronavirus. Otherwise, I would have won. Everything was great. Best economy. Black people were working, all the stuff he says. Hispanic, low unemployment, all of this stuff. That now, seeing the writing on the wall, he is potentially using this to simply get out and or even to throw the election. He doesn't necessarily, I mean, if he were to get very sick, he wouldn't even necessarily have to say, I'm no longer running. But you would imagine that there are some people who would say, I can't vote for a guy who's so sick. We need a healthy president. I understand why people are suspicious, because this is an administration that has lied constantly about everything. But as of right now, at least plausibly, Donald Trump has coronavirus, is experiencing mild cold-like symptoms, and is quarantining. All immediately future events have been canceled. Of course, the second debate is scheduled for about 12 days from today. It's not this coming Thursday. In other words, not 6 days from today, but the following Thursday. I guess that makes that 13 days from today. It would be very borderline, given how long one can remain infectious. It would be very borderline to be able to be at an in-person debate 13 days from today if he just tested positive yesterday. So no announcement has been made as of this moment. It's something we're going to be following. It's something that we are going to be tracking here. The sort of next layer to this is, a lot of the feelings that have been bottled up for months, or not bottled up, but sort of simmering there, about Donald Trump not taking this seriously and so on, they are coming out, and there are a lot of people who are saying what I think are sort of horrible things about they hope Trump dies. I'm getting tweets and messages. I hope Trump gets a really serious case. I hope he dies. I think that happens to be both morally wrong and also strategically wrong. Let me take it one by one. First, the moral part. I don't wish death or disease on anyone, even bad people. I don't really believe in karma, but it just feels wrong to me to hope for things like that. Now, I understand Trump has not taken the 212,000 American coronavirus deaths seriously. So why should we care about one? We're not like them. Okay, we're better than them. We're not going to stoop to their level. So Donald Trump deserves to lose, and this gets to the practical. Trump deserves to lose, and he deserves to be voted out via a massive repudiation by the American people, not by getting sick. Okay, so I maintain, and listen, this is not the hill I'm going to die on. I understand why some people are reacting in these ways. Screw Trump and all. I get it, but for me, I would take no. Not only do I not take pleasure in people getting sick and dying, fundamentally, that is antithetical to my beliefs. I wouldn't take pleasure in removing Trump because he gets sick or dies. I want him repudiated by the vote, plain and simple, period, full stop. Now, by the way, just as a funny or ironic or coincidental personal story, I've been having some what I think are sort of allergic symptoms lately. And my doctor said, listen, before we test for allergies, because coronavirus is so weird, get yourself a coronavirus test. So I actually went yesterday after filming the show and I got one, and it really wasn't too bad. They're using a much thinner swab now and, whatever. When I woke up this morning anticipating my coronavirus test results, I saw Trump had tested positive for coronavirus. And again, Trump's test and my test are completely unrelated, but for some reason, I had this vision of announcing both that Trump had tested positive and that I had tested positive. I tested negative, got my results this morning within minutes of hearing about Donald Trump's positive test. Completely unrelated, but just a timing issue has me announcing that today. Hopefully, my test was an accurate negative. We wouldn't want a false negative. So we're going to continue following this. No Trump events scheduled for the foreseeable future. As a result of this, Donald Trump will be quarantining. He has coronavirus. Melania Trump has coronavirus. Hope Hicks has coronavirus. And I would not be surprised to see others test positive in the days to come. Last week, I mentioned to you that in the 36 hours or so after the tragic death of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, $100 million was donated to Joe Biden and other Democrats, a real sign of enthusiasm, to put it very, very lightly. Well, we now have fundraising numbers from Tuesday, and Joe Biden raised $10 million during the 3-hour period surrounding the first presidential debate with Donald Trump. In the first hour alone, Joe Biden raised $3.8 million. This is a campaign fundraising record for a single hour. And then if you look at the 9 p.m. to midnight Eastern block, $10 million raised, 215,000 donations, including 60,000 new donors who had not previously donated, and 100,000 people signed up to volunteer for the campaign. Now, this is not a guarantee of anything. We don't yet have Trump's fundraising numbers to compare for during the debate, but this is very good for Joe Biden. And I feel like I don't even need to say this now, but I will. I hate how our elections are financed. I despise the money system that we have. But for the next 35 days, it's the system that we have and the one that Joe Biden has to use to win. And seeing $10 million raised in 3 hours is just stunning. What seems to be motivating lots of donations is people realized when they were watching the debate, Trump doesn't want more people to vote. Trump wants fewer people to vote. There was no way to watch the debate and not pay attention to the reality that Donald Trump would prefer that you not vote, particularly if you don't like him. But on balance, Donald Trump has figured out that all else being equal, he's better off if he suppresses the vote. And it was very transparent during that debate. People didn't like it. People saw it, and they saw the completely undemocratic, authoritarian nature of Donald Trump, who also doesn't want to accept the election results unless he wins, and is preemptively saying if the results are anything other than he won, he will say that the results are rigged. And this has motivated people to donate. We will see where it gets us in just about a month. But what I like hearing about this is, to put it lightly, there are a lot of ignorant and uninformed people in this country who fall for anything. And 60 million of them fell for voting for Trump in 2016. 60 million are likely going to fall for it again. What was, for me, inspiring to see was that even though Donald Trump didn't come out and say, I don't want people to vote, I want people to stay home, he used sort of coded language. People saw through it. People watched it and they said, I can determine from what he is saying what he really means, and I don't like it, and I'm going to donate to Joe Biden. So incredible numbers for Biden. I'll have the Trump numbers for you when they are out.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
What if you could read 10 books in just one sitting? That's exactly what one of my favorite apps lets you do. It's called Blinkist. And what they do is take thousands of popular nonfiction books. They condense them down into text or audio that you can consume in 15 minutes. Blinkist makes sure that you're getting all of the important core insights from each book. So it's perfect for exploring a book you otherwise wouldn't have time for. If there's a full book you're thinking about buying, you can use Blinkist to get a sample first. Just think how much you can enrich yourself by being able to soak up an entire nonfiction book in just 15 minutes. I recently read A Brief History of Time, of course, by the great Stephen Hawking. This is a book that I have been aware of for so long, and other things got in the way, and it was fantastic to check it out on Blinkist. Blinkist has books on politics, philosophy, science. They have 27 different nonfiction categories, and a subscription is only about $8 a month. And you get the entire library. But you can try it totally free and get 25% off a subscription when you go to Blinkist.com/David Pakman. I've put the link right underneath this video.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
All right, welcome back to the show, everybody. We're going to do calls today, but we're doing them a different way. Because of all of the complaints about the call quality on the phone line, we are going to, for the first time, try taking callers through Discord, which is davidpakman.com/Discord. So let's just try it, okay? We're going to go first to Rachel from Arizona. Rachel from Arizona, you're the first caller on today. In terms of using the new Discord system, welcome. Can you hear me? Can we hear you?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Rachel, you're coming through crystal clear.
How are you today?
Good, good. What's on your mind?
Oh, well, after that dumpster fire of a debate last night,
Yeah.
I don't think there was a clear winner on either side.
So, I mean, listen, I agree with you that it was a mess and Trump's strategy was to make debate impossible. I do think that on balance, like, it's hard for me to say because I'm in this, like, I'm not the target of this debate. You know, I'm voting for Biden and I'm very clear on that. But I think the big picture is Biden looked stable and Trump didn't. And I think that if we imagine a casual political observer, sure, people who want like an alpha type that insults everybody, they might be drawn to Trump. But I think it probably is better for Biden, how it went.
Right. I agree with you on that 100%. I mean, compared to Trump, Biden just looked like a saint.
Right.
Compared to him just, you know, his hot-headedness and it was definitely not the norm for a presidential debate.
Now, let me ask you this, Rachel, as someone who follows politics, based on how that debate went, do you feel any need to watch future debates, or are you sort of like good for the rest of this election?
I just want to watch it for the pure, what's the word I'm
The
looking
entertainment
for?
value?
It's like a train. Yeah, the entertainment. It's like a train wreck. You just can't look away.
Yeah. See, I think that it's hard for us to analyze it because I'm trying to think of people who are watching it to try to figure out who to vote for. How are they seeing it? And we'll have to see in the coming days how the polling shifts. But my instinct is it did more damage for Trump than it did for Biden.
Right. And I'm originally from Ohio. And so I have a lot of people on my Facebook and Instagram from Ohio.
Yeah.
And I was kind of interested to see their take on it because a lot of them are for Trump.
Right.
And, they're just making excuses for him. Oh, he got the hardest questions. And
oh, that's interesting because one reaction would be to insist that Trump did great and he won. But what you're seeing is people aren't saying Trump did great and he won, but they're excusing the fact that he imploded by saying he got the hard questions and whatnot.
Correct.
That's interesting. That's different. I mean, I think that signals it was worse for Trump because they're not even able to just claim he won. They're having to make excuses for the performance. That actually is interesting.
Right. Well, I mean, that's all they've done for the past 4 years, isn't it? Is make excuses for him.
Very true. Very true.
So,
Rachel, thank you for the call. Where in Arizona are you?
I am in Tempe.
Tempe. Okay. I've never been there. I've been to Tucson. I've been to Phoenix. I've been to some wineries down closer to I think Sonoita near the Mexican border. Beautiful, beautiful place.
Yes. It's very gorgeous. It's especially right now. It's like just a little above 100 still. And it's just perfect weather.
But it's a dry heat, so it's fine.
Yes. Exactly. That's what they all say.
All right,
Thank
Rachel.
you so much for having me on, David.
Appreciate it. Yep, we'll talk to you soon.
I love your show.
Thanks, Rachel. Great to hear from Rachel. Let's go next to, we're going to go to Sam from Houston. Sam from Houston is joining us. Sam, I would say, what's your name and where are you calling from? But I already have that information. And you're going to have to unmute yourself, Sam, if you want to chat, which we want. We want you to unmute, but you do have to unmute yourself. Sam from Houston, you've got to unmute. You are muted. There you go, Sam.
Hey, David. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm feel like I PTSD after that debate.
Right.
So I guess I wanted to get your take on the biggest way that the left will look at the debate for Biden yesterday. And mostly from the standpoint, I guess, of whoever is still undecided at this point. How do you view their reaction, their viewpoint?
So you're saying specifically left-wing undecideds, people who are politically left, but they're not sure about voting Biden yet.
Right.
I mean, listen, this is so speculative and we really have to wait for the polling. But my instinct is that there will be some on the left, and they're very loud on Twitter and on Reddit. There will be some on the left who will say, Biden stumbled and bumbled and we can't have this guy in office. But then they're going to vote the guy in who talked about Biden's son's cocaine problem and said he needs the Proud Boys to stand by for after the election. Like that's who you're going to go with. So I think we shouldn't be tricked into thinking that a lot of the left is reacting to Biden by saying, wow, now I'm voting Trump because of that debate. I think that for the left, remember, most undecideds aren't left wing. Undecideds tend to be center and center right who don't pay too much attention. But for left wing undecideds, I think Biden was stable and Trump was a petulant child, and it probably helps Biden with the left wing undecideds. There's very few of them, though.
Yeah, I think that that's the best way to look at last night because of the fact that it was just screaming. And is there anything that you would advise the next moderator for the next debate? Because Chris Wallace just could not.
What the moderator needs to be able to control the microphones of the candidates. Both candidates would have to agree to it, and it's not going to happen. So what I think the next best thing can be is this could make the debate last twice as long, but the moderator should enforce that if Trump interrupts Biden, Biden's time stops and it gets taken away from Trump. So, for example, and it's very hard to do, if Biden's supposed to get 2 minutes and Trump talks for 30 of it, Biden gets another 30 and that 30 counts against Trump's next time slot. They're not going to allow it. They're not going to do it. It's logistically difficult. But what else can you do?
Oh, I would love that. I think that would be the best thing to be able to cut both of their mics off because it was bad.
But
I'm
again,
excited.
they both need to agree to it, and they're never going to.
Right. Well, I'm excited to watch the next week's debate with VP. I think that's going to be a good one.
Yeah, you're sort of breaking. You're sort of breaking up, Sam. But I know that you're saying the Kamala Pence debate. We'll be here for it. I think Kamala is going to crush him.
Yeah. Awesome. Yep. Thanks so much, David. Appreciate it.
All right, Sam. Sam may have been exercising or using power tools there, so we're gonna let him get back to it. Let's go back to. Here. I think this is a call from. Israel. Let's go to Peleg from Ashkelon. Peleg, what's going on? And remember, you have to unmute yourself. I've brought you in, but you've got to unmute. There you are.
Hey, David. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Great to talk to you. Watch your live stream yesterday. It was awesome.
Thank you.
So basically my question is, I live in Israel, and I've been hearing a lot of talk about Biden and his policy towards Israel. So like from one end, I can hear stuff like, oh, his BDS is radical, and from another side, I can hear like, oh, he's good for us. He's friendly to our lobbyists and stuff like that. So I guess my question is, what's your opinion about Biden's policy towards Israel, and your general opinion on it?
Well, it's not about my opinion. It's what has Biden said. So first you said you heard that some people said Biden's for BDS. Has Biden ever said he's for BDS?
I could not find that.
Yeah, he hasn't said it. So Biden's not for BDS. With regard to the relationship, Biden would be completely unremarkable in his relationship to Israel. It would be very similar to Barack Obama. I mean, certainly if Benjamin Netanyahu is not a factor, the relationship will be improved and you might get a credible opportunity for serious peace discussions. But there is going to be nothing remarkable at all about it's sort of like Trump says Biden will end the Second Amendment. No, Biden will try to get some sensible reforms passed, maybe universal background checks and a few other things. It will be very similar to what Barack Obama tried to do. Trump says Biden's going to end the suburbs and, kind of this racial dog whistling. No, he's not. And there are some on the right saying Biden will be terrible for Israel or for American Jews or whatever. No, he won't. He will be completely unremarkable in every way with regard to Israeli policy.
Great. That's exactly what I think too. And I tried to explain that to people. Great.
Peleg, what's going on now in Israel in terms of masks? A lot of people I follow who live in Israel, they're out at cafes, they're at gyms, not wearing masks. What's the deal?
Yeah, that is a problem, and we've had like a lot of talk about it. And also, like right now, there are a lot of protests against Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yeah.
Every I think Saturday. I might be wrong about it. So a lot of people don't wear masks there, and a lot of criticism about that. From what I know right now, we are on a shutdown. It's going to end in about 5 days. So right now it seems to be steady. And in terms of masks, people generally respect it. And yeah.
Okay, because I don't see anybody wearing masks, but they respect when you're supposed to. You're saying people are wearing a mask?
When I usually go out, I see about 70% of people wearing masks, but it might be my memory.
That's not bad. That's not bad. Okay, yeah. All right, Peleg, I'm going to let you go. Sounds like you're juggling a lot over there, but I appreciate hearing from you. Let's go. We really are taking a tour of the world today. I want to go next to Eric from Toronto, our friendly neighbors to the north. Eric, you can go ahead and unmute, and I would love to hear what's on your mind.
Holy crap. Well, first, I wasn't expecting to talk to you, but hopefully you're doing well. I enjoy your content, buddy.
Well, listen, Eric, when I woke up this morning, I didn't expect to be talking to you either. So we're both in the same situation.
Well, after watching the debate last night, I was watching your live stream. Oh my God, just horrified.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a winner to this debate, to be honest, and it didn't sway anyone either way. It's just unfortunate. People are brainwashed into believing Trump. It's just crazy, and I can't imagine thinking that he's the choice to pick for this election. It's just, oh my God.
I tend to agree with you that the debate. So if you follow somebody who predicts elections with a qualitative rubric like Alan Lichtman, he doesn't think debates make any difference at all. And I tend to agree in terms of the math of it. The only thing is, A very small margin in a few states could flip the election. So while I don't think the debates will move the polling significantly, I do recognize that, if just 1% of the population in Wisconsin found Trump to be a petulant child and Biden to seem like an adult, that 1% could actually swing Wisconsin. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I am. And another thing I wanted to bring up while I'm here is I really do hope the moderating gets better. Like, I remember what you were saying. Like, why aren't they cutting the mics? Is it
they don't have the mechanism. The parties would have to agree to that, to give the moderator that power. And of course, Trump in particular never would.
Yeah, and it's upsetting, though. I mean, you can just see how broken it all is. I'm just talking with my coworker here. I'm working at the same time. It's just like we're both just talking like, how can they not mute the mics? Like, what kind of process is this if the Trump just spewts garble over? I mean, like, not that Biden was like anything to write home about either, like you said, but
no, like I said yesterday, Biden had 4 to 5 strong answers, in particular his last answer. He had about 3 zingers, and he had the 5 or 6 weak moments where he seemed unable to kind of sequentially lay out a vision. And I think that those are the moments that Trump is going to fixate on.
Yeah, every time Biden stuttered, my heart sank a little bit. But you know what? I think he at least didn't faceplant, and that's the important thing. And I'm just happy to check in with you. That's all I really had to say. Also, hello, Pat, and thanks for taking my call.
All right, thank you very much. We're gonna say goodbye to Eric from Toronto, and Pat, you can make a note that people have said hello, and that's a beautiful thing. We're going to go to a very brief break. If you're holding on, don't go anywhere, because we're going right back to the calls momentarily.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
The David Pakman Show depends on your support, and the easiest way is through membership, which includes the world-famous bonus show, as well as commercial-free audio and video streams of the show just for members. Sign up today at joinpakman.com. Coupon code saves you 40%. Vote soon 18.
Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
All right, welcome back to the program. We're taking calls today via Discord for the first time. And I have to tell you, davidpakman.com/Discord, it really has improved audio quality dramatically. We're continuing our tour of the world. Next, we are going to go to Mikko from Finland. I love Finland. I had the pleasure of being there last year. It was an amazing experience. Mikko, where in Finland are you, and what's on your mind today?
Hi, David. It's dark here and it's cold, and on my mind it is that your country seems to be on the verge of civil war and at the end of democracy.
Yes,
very clear.
Your assessment from Finland is accurate.
Thank you. Now, what do you think if things do get violent and do get out of hand and fall into anarchy? What good pointers could you give to people to do on how to react and what to do if the anarchy breaks out?
I don't know the answer to that. You know, I have friends on the left who never considered getting firearms before, who were never preppers, who now have firearms. They are very, very scared about the possibility for violence. I don't know what to advise people to do. My hope is that state National Guards are not going to allow violence incited by Donald Trump to take over states. I cannot imagine, we have a Republican governor here in Massachusetts, Charlie Baker. Despite being a Republican, Charlie Baker refused to send any National Guard down to the border when Donald Trump wanted to use the National Guard down there. My belief is if it really came to it, and I hope it doesn't, that Charlie Baker is going to use the state National Guard to protect against the violence that Donald Trump may be wanting to incite. But I am as much in the dark, metaphorically, Mikko, as you were saying Finland is in the dark from the standpoint of light, because I don't know what's going to happen.
Okay, thank you. That's a very good answer. Then another word that I have found that is very descriptive of your country at the moment is kakistocracy.
Kakistocracy, yes.
Yes, which I think that is means that the country is governed by the least qualified. Do you agree?
It's hard to find people less qualified than Trump. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, I think back to my college professors. Earlier this week, I interviewed Richard Wolff. Okay, Richard Wolff is a socialist. A lot of people aren't socialists. Richard Wolff would have handled the pandemic better than Donald Trump. I think back to, I ran into a high school English teacher over the weekend. My high school English teacher dropped in to deal with coronavirus, would have handled it better than Donald Trump merely by deferring to experts. It's hard to imagine, short of someone who is truly cognitively disabled, straight up disabled, of people that would be worse suited to be in charge right now. You're absolutely correct.
I'm so sorry that it is come to this.
Yeah.
Hope the next.
Hope for the next one. Yeah. Mikko, listen, what part of Finland are you in?
I'm about 1 hour drive away from Helsinki downtown, and it's a little bit over 1 hour by car, and very southern part.
Well, I love Helsinki. There's this, are you familiar with this salmon soup that is very typical of Helsinki?
Yes, I am. Salmon soup is actually very typical of whole of Finland.
What a dish. What a delightful dish. I must have had that 10 times when I was in Finland. Absolutely delicious.
Nice to hear.
Yeah. All right, Mikko, I appreciate you calling in, and I hope to be back in Finland before too long.
Okay, welcome.
All right, there it is. Mikko, what a friendly guy. People are just so friendly in Finland. Let's go next to, I want to go to, I think we're going to the UK now with Ian from Southampton. Ian, welcome to the program. What's on your mind?
So I have some tactics questions regarding Biden's performance last night.
Please.
I watched the whole thing. It was about 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. for me, so I was a little bit out of it. But I did notice that he actually just came out and said that Trump was the worst president of the United States.
Yes, that was a great moment in my mind.
Well, here's the thing. For me, the way he delivered that, and actually the way he delivered a number of the other insults, which I think are really just adjectives in this case.
Yes.
Was in a way that didn't necessarily seem to be serious. It didn't seem to be the denunciation it should be. It seemed very Joe Biden. This is all, it's kind of funny what this Trump guy is and who he thinks he is.
I don't totally disagree. And by the way, I'm hearing all sorts of Discord tweets and beeps. So if you can mute those, that would be a beautiful thing.
How would I do that?
That I don't know. But what I was going to say is I actually liked the Biden laughing because Trump as a narcissist and Trump as an authoritarian, he wants people angry and afraid. And nothing communicates the opposite than Biden just laughing Trump off as an unserious person. So I don't disagree with you with the micro, which is when Biden said Trump's the worst president ever, he didn't really do it in the serious denunciation way we might have liked to see, but it was part of just laughing the guy off. And I think Trump really didn't like that.
Yeah, so this is kind of my next point is that to me, what that signaled is on some level that Trump isn't necessarily a threat and Trump isn't serious. And he did have that big moment at the end where he was talking. He did the very serious look to camera, get out and vote, which I liked again. But it seemed that the sort of laughing off at that bit, at least laughing for some of it is fine. And some of the sillier stuff he said was fine. Yeah. But I feel that he missed the mark with some of the insults and the denunciations.
All right, fair point and point well taken, Ian. I am going to let you go because the beeps are just they're really they're creating a problem for us. But it's a point taken, and reasonable people can certainly disagree. We are going to go next to just to keep it going in the United States. I do want to let our American friends get in on here. Let's go to Tyler from Austin, Texas, the new home of Joe Rogan. Tyler, what is it like having Joe Rogan in town?
You know, I hear a lot of complaints about it, but it doesn't really bother me. It is what it is, you know.
Very
People
much
want to
so.
come here and contribute to the economy, and I'm fine with it.
Cool.
I won't move out yet.
What's on your mind?
So my question is about something I've been doing a little bit of investigating into is the opinions that a lot of conservative media pundits have held about Trump in the past, back in the 2016 election.
Right.
They said extremely disparaging things about him, and they were in full recognition that he was a racist, even like an anti-Semite, so on and so forth. And what I'm really concerned about is following this election, even if Trump loses, what is going to stop? When are conservatives going to reflect and realize that the candidate has gone too far? That even though he has the effect that they want on their base, ginning up support, that he is too out of left field, that he's too awful of a person. When are they going to have a moment of reflection? Because I don't see that happening right now. I don't see them realizing the situation that they've gotten themselves into.
Well, there is a lot of cognitive dissonance that prevents people from having that awakening. And so I think that only if Donald Trump brutally loses, I'm talking about landslide loss, and Republicans lose the Senate. I mean, if there's a real repudiation of everything Republicans are and stand for at the Senate and White House level, will you see some Republicans say that was really disastrous, that can never happen again? But otherwise, I think you'll see, even if Trump loses, a lot of Republicans chalk it up to coronavirus. A lot of Republicans chalk it up to bad timing. And I would be shocked if there's any kind of serious self-examination, the type of which you're talking. A reckoning of sorts. Yeah, I doubt it. I just don't think you're going to see it.
Because I'm worried about somebody who's just as bad as Trump or even worse in the future coming along and being legitimized just like he has. And I can't see a reason why they wouldn't do that, since he has been a really reliable vehicle, like I said, and like you've said before, for ginning up that support. And like Rachel Bitacocker said, for activating his base.
You're completely right. You're completely right.
If they go against him, then they cancel out that section of the electorate, and they have to figure out a way to move left, which I can't see them doing that.
No, I think that in fact, it would take some very accurate politicking for several election cycles to get past the risk that very soon a Trump number 2 comes forward. And whether it's one of his kids or whether it's someone else, I don't know. But we're going to have to work really hard to prevent that. And removing Trump and replacing him with Biden is just the first step of many.
I've seen Norman Ornstein. I don't know if you know who that is, the political scientist. He says that the Republicans need to lose 3 elections in a row in a landslide in order for them to have this reckoning that we're talking about.
That's my instinct. I think that he's right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for the call. It kind of really caught me off guard that I just got slid into the room.
Appreciate it, Tyler. Tyler from Austin, Texas. Great to hear from you. We are going to go next to, where are we going next? Let's go to our friend Sasha from Montreal, one of my favorite cities in the world, I would even say. Sasha from Montreal, you can go ahead and, let me know what's on your mind today.
Well, I was kind of disappointed yesterday, to be fair.
Yeah.
I was really disappointed. Like, just the interruption. Biden couldn't speak. He couldn't talk. He couldn't.
It was crazy.
Express. Yeah. I shouldn't have watched it. Like, I was really hyped for it, but.
Sorry, you were hyped or you were high?
Hyped.
Oh, okay. All right. I know some people who were both, but yeah, no, I understand. I mean, do you imagine you'll watch the next debates?
I mean, probably.
You will. Okay. Nothing better to do, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else for me, Sasha?
Not really.
No. You ever go to Saint Viateur Bagel in Montreal?
I don't think so.
Oh. I recommend it.
I don't actually live there. I live in the suburbs.
Oh, you're in the suburbs. I see.
Yeah.
All right, Sasha. Very good. I appreciate the phone call.
Okay.
All right. There it is. Sasha from Montreal. Very good. Understated phone call. Let's go back across the pond to Peter from Leeds in the United Kingdom. Peter, what's going on with you?
Hi, David. I've just got a couple of questions to do with. First of all, I'd like to talk about the passing of the Internal Market Bill in the UK, and the fact that the UK has basically said, you know what, screw the rule of international law. I'm just wondering what you think. What you think things might end up like with the US, because I think it was either Nancy Pelosi or Joe Biden who basically said that you're in the back of the queue if you start flagrantly violating international law. I've just been wondering, first of all, about that.
Listen, I've not seen this, so I would not be able to intelligently comment on it. I mean, from a very general standpoint, I don't disagree with the notion that you are putting yourself in a particular group when you violate international law. The United States violates its fair share of international law, and it becomes a question of, are you big enough or well-connected enough or powerful enough that you can get away with it? And not everybody can. The UK is probably in a position to be able to get away with it without knowing the details.
Yeah, I mean, it's largely to do with Brexit. I mean, the thing is, the UK negotiated it I think it was a few months ago.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of worried that people aren't going to take us seriously, and I suppose this kind of links into what else we need to think about as kind of social democrats or whatever across the world.
Yes.
How do we deal with this kind of thing? How do we deal with our kind of, I don't know how to describe them, kind of neo-nationalist type leaders like Boris Johnson, Donald Trump, but further afield to Jair Bolsonaro?
Well, the first step is to remove them, and only then can you even really start to have a conversation about how to deal with the fact that, you know, in the United States, even if you remove Trump, you still have 60 million Trumpists that you have to contend with. And that's a conversation that I'm sort of tabling at least for the next 36 days until we have the election over with. But that's a very important question.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I suppose that I've been quite worried about. You know, I do genuinely worry for the rule of law quite a lot, because it is sadly under threat. And
it is.
I suppose we've got 4 more years over here, and I really hope that in the next 4 weeks over there, you make the right decision. Right?
Let's hope so. All right, Peter from Leeds, UK. I appreciate the call. Let me go next to our friend Maddie from Evanston, Illinois. Maddie, what's going on with you? What's on your mind today? And you are on. Maddie, you can go ahead. I see you've unmuted, but we can't hear you. It might be an issue of microphone selection. All right, Maddie, I'll give you one more opportunity. There you are, Maddie.
Oh, awesome. Hi, David.
Hi.
First of all, thank you so much for all that you do. You're giving me such a reality check right now, and I really appreciate that.
Good.
Second of all, after watching last night's debate, I can't help but wonder how in the hell the right is framing this, and how they could possibly think that Trump might have won the debate. I'm trying to get into that mindset, and I simply can't. And I'm wondering if you could give me any more insight into that.
So basically, there's 2 sets of people that are defending Trump. There's people saying that Trump actually won because Biden stuttered, right? So there's that group that's basically just saying that, Trump just won. There are people, and an earlier caller identified it, who are conceding or implicitly conceding that Trump didn't do so well and he was unhinged and this stuff, but they're essentially blaming Chris Wallace and saying Chris Wallace was part of a fake news media cabal to give Trump the tough questions and to challenge Trump more, and that it was all rigged against Donald Trump. Those are the main 2 lines of defense. Now, for me, they both ring hollow, but the point is, all that really matters is what the independents thought. And by Maddie, I don't know if you're listening to something else in the background or that if that's my own voice feeding back, but maybe we could do something about it.
Any better now?
That is better, yeah.
Great. All right, yeah. I mean, that's crazy, but helpful to frame it in that way. And I guess my other question is how do I restore my faith in this democratic process when the leadership is telling me that if it goes the way that he doesn't want it to go, then we're all like screwed and anarchy will reign, et cetera, et cetera.
So in the immediate 30, it's horrifying. In the immediate 30, however many days we have left, in the immediate 30 or however many days we have left, what we have to do is just overwhelm the vote and try to get the biggest victory possible. If and when we do that, then we can talk about fixing these other systemic issues which have been exposed, including that our checks and balances really only work if somebody enforces them. And what we've learned under Donald Trump is if nobody enforces them, they don't really do much for us.
Right.
Yeah. All right, Maddie,
All right.
It sounds like you've got a lot going on there, so I'm going to let you go, but I really appreciate you talking to me
All right.
today.
Thanks so much. Take care.
All right, there's Maddie. Maddie having a very, very busy day there. Okay, guys, a success the first day taking calls on Discord. The call quality was stunning, and I really appreciate everybody who got in touch. We will do it again next week.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
The David Pakman Show depends on the support of our viewers and listeners, and one way to keep us going is through Patreon, where you can pledge as little as $1 per month or as much as you want at patreon.com/David Pakman Show. Great perks and benefits as well. Read about them.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Okay, let's get into audience questions for the week. Some very good ones. First one is about Trump voters. Hey, David, why is it that rural and blue collar, as well as older white people, seem to favor Donald Trump? So, yes, that is true. It's important to remember that increasingly this group is not leaning as much towards Trump as they once were. We looked at numbers in, I believe it was Pennsylvania, maybe Wisconsin, some other places where the white vote is not as in favor of Donald Trump this year as it was in 2016, but the final numbers remain to be seen. But yes, it's true that Donald Trump's strongest demographic group remains white folks and older folks, although older folks overall have abandoned Trump and now favor Joe Biden. But the question is why? It's a good one. And understanding the why is necessary if Democrats don't want to make the same mistakes as they did in 2016. Now, of course, 2016 was rife with, James Comey's press conferences about Hillary Clinton's emails and foreign meddling, all these different factors. But there was a bit of a lack of understanding from Hillary Clinton and Democrats about how to talk about economic anxiety. Now, there was racism. There's this big debate over anybody saying economic anxiety explains Trump's win is ignoring racism. No, it was both. And for some people, it was more one or the other. But there's no doubt that over the last 20, 30 years of globalization, as we've seen much manufacturing go elsewhere, and the U.S. become more of a service-based economy, the people disproportionately affected by that are folks working in manufacturing jobs. Manufacturing jobs are disproportionately in more rural areas and Midwestern states and in other places like that. And those who have benefited from the United States moving towards being a service economy have been people on the coasts, in cities, tech workers, service workers, and others. So one reality is that in total, there was this neoliberal idea that in the aggregate, the U.S. would do better. The economy would in total be better. There would be more total wealth and lower overall prices with this change of moving manufacturing out and creating service and information jobs. That happened, but it was overwhelmingly concentrated in certain parts of the country and not in others. But politics aside, it was also overwhelmingly concentrated for the 1%, as we see stagnant wages for large swaths of Americans and huge income and wealth gains for the top 1% and even groups smaller than the top 1%. So for some people, they fell for Trump's rhetoric around trade and the middle class. It was BS populist rhetoric. It went nowhere. But there was a group already predisposed to favor Republicans in many parts of the country, rural, older, white, who fell for it and it has not gone particularly well for them. Now, separately, if you look at evangelical and religious voters, they also are predisposed to vote on abortion lines. Trump claimed to be anti-abortion in 2016. He still claims to. Hillary Clinton was in favor of a woman's right to choose. So for some folks, it's not actually about economics. It's as simple as abortion, which continues to be not only a voting issue, but the voting issue for many Americans. So whenever we want to look into these questions, this is part of what I spoke about earlier this week in our interview about the U.S. possibly as several countries. 331 million people. Most countries don't have this many people. And you have radically different, not just ideologies, but concerns and day-to-day life. The day-to-day life of someone who lives in Boston and works at a tech firm has almost nothing to do with the life of someone who is a rural Ohio factory worker. We speak the same language, we're Americans, etc. But these are very different day-to-day experience, both culturally and even just in the nuts and bolts logistics of it. And you can't really give one answer to any question that asks about such a broad trend in a country of 330 million people. Hey, David, on balance, do you think that the protests help or hurt Donald Trump? I think that they hurt him. I believe that early the idea that Trump had was that they would help. I just think he miscalculated. There is no question that when you see protests, some small portion of which end up having some violent elements and arrests taking place, arson, looting, etc. Certainly Trump's base is activated. They are motivated. They become more enthusiastic about voting for Donald Trump. I don't deny that. The problem is, I think that the protests are really hurting Trump with everybody who's not already committed to him. And if you only are pleasing the people already voting for you, you can't make up a 3, 5, 7, or 9 point popular vote deficit, which is what different polls claim Donald Trump is currently experiencing. Most people aren't falling for, if you see a violent confrontation in Portland, that's what you will have under Joe Biden's America. Most people aren't falling for that. Most people are accurately recognizing, wait a second, Biden's America, Trump's president right now. This is happening in Trump's America right now. And it reminds me a little bit of the situation when Donald Trump was asked about earlier in coronavirus, do you take responsibility for this or that? And Trump said, I take no responsibility at all. Apply that logic to the protests and to the elements of the protests that have been violent, which again is very, very small. And Trump actually spotlights those incidents thinking it will hurt Joe Biden. And he says it's Biden's fault that this is happening. It's radical Marxist fault that this is happening. And it will be even worse if they win. It's backfiring because it doesn't pass the sniff test. And what this ultimately gets back to is that Donald Trump was a much stronger candidate running as an insurgent who had not had a career in politics and who could sort of credibly criticize whoever is running and whoever is in power. Trump's been president now for 4 years, and yet he's still trying to run like an insurgent. Trump is still saying, you've got to reelect me so I can do the wall and do healthcare and do more taxes and all of this other stuff. He's been president for 4 years, and it's a gambit that I believe has failed him. He may still win for other reasons, but I think continuing to run as an outsider, even though he's been president now for 4 years, I think it's a mistake. And if you look at the polling data, you see it. When the unrest happened in Wisconsin, there were people saying this is going to hurt Joe Biden and it's going to hurt Democrats. You had enlightened centrist grifters, right, saying Trump just won. The Senate is going to stay Republican because of what's going on in Wisconsin. A lot of pundits jumped all over that. Not pundits, as some say, pundits. Come on, we know the word, P-U-N-D-I-T. And in fact, Joe Biden is polling slightly better today in Wisconsin than he was when Jacob Blake got shot. It's marginal. It's a small delta, but things have not gotten worse for Joe Biden in Wisconsin since that happened. And I think that what's happening are two different things. One, most people aren't buying that what we're seeing has anything to do with Joe Biden. It's happening under Donald Trump, and Trump's actions have actually worsened it. When Trump sent federal agents like jackbooted thugs to areas with unrest to carry out authoritarian Soviet-style tactics, throwing people into vans and all of this stuff. He could have instead used the bully pulpit to say, we are demanding federal investigations of the police officers and departments involved. This is not what the next 4 years are going to look like in America. He could have listened to people on systemic racism, right? He could have done it differently. And I think he'd be cruising to re-election if he had done that and paid more attention to the virus, for sure. But instead, he didn't do that. And it has fomented the feeling that things are unstable, and instability tends not to be good for the incumbent. So that's my bottom line. I think that Donald Trump's base is certainly enthusiastically going to vote for Trump because of the protests, but they were going to vote for Trump anyway. Maybe they're just doing it slightly more enthusiastically. I think with everybody else, the protests have been very, very bad for Donald Trump. David, if Joe Biden gets elected and Democrats take the Senate, what will Democrats actually get done? So, first of all, if Biden wins and Democrats take the Senate, it's a 2-year period. Okay. Democrats could then lose the Senate in 2022 or lose the House. We don't know. There's the low hanging fruit and then there's the more complicated stuff. So certainly Joe Biden will have no choice but to use executive orders to undo a ton of Trump's executive orders. Now, fortunately, many of Trump's executive orders were just symbolic in nature. They didn't really do much, but a lot of executive orders will be needed to stop the damage of Trump's executive orders that do things. I do think that relatively quickly, a Democratic Senate and Joe Biden would move to try to undo as much as possible of Donald Trump's tax reform plan that included handouts to the very rich and even provisions that allow Donald Trump to extend his tax loss carry forwards indefinitely rather than just 10 or 18 years, however much it was. But there's a really big question here, which is that Republicans now, listen, they stopped Merrick Garland in 2016, and now they will probably succeed at putting in Amy Coney Barrett. They don't care about hypocrisy. They will obstruct. They will do whatever. Democrats, if they win the Senate and Joe Biden wins, are going to have to grapple with what to do about the filibuster. The filibuster, which requires 60 Senate votes instead of a simple majority to get a lot of things done. And I don't think we are going to see major legislative action if Republicans really suffer an embarrassing defeat where Trump is made a one-term president, which is rare in American politics. And if Republicans lose the Senate, they're going to be hurting and they will get in the way of anything they can. I don't see Obamacare being expanded the way Joe Biden wants without 60 votes. And there's no way that they're going to get 60 votes. So the question will be, do they get rid of the filibuster? I don't see Joe Biden's clean energy plan going anywhere if it depends on a Senate that is 52-48 in favor of Democrats, if that's what it is. So if Democrats take control of the Senate and they rewrite the filibuster rules, then you may see more action done. Now, are they going to do that? It's risky. Barack Obama alluded to it at the funeral of John Lewis. That's probably the highest profile support we've seen of getting rid of the filibuster. But understand that whatever Democrats imagine that it takes, 8 to 12 months of Joe Biden's first term to get rid of the filibuster. And then Democrats get something done in the second year of Joe Biden's first term. And then imagine that Republicans take back the Senate and maybe even the House, we don't know, in 2022. You have opened the door for Republicans to use the lack of a filibuster to do ungodly things. So this is always the question. Does it start a race to the bottom? I don't know the answer. But if somehow Democrats figured out a way to get the votes, I believe the priorities would be deal with coronavirus relief in a more serious manner, depending on when that happens, expand Obamacare in the way that Joe Biden wants to do, new tax reform plan, clean energy. Those would be the four that I see the most likely that Democrats would want to tackle if given the opportunity, again, depending on what degree of a majority do they have in the Senate or do they get rid of the filibuster. One last thing. Without getting rid of the filibuster, Democrats could still get things done if they take the Senate, even if it's only, 51-49, 52-48. But they will have to concede a ton to Republicans. They will have to pass their bills with these horrifying, disgusting amendments that they put in there in order to get some Republican votes? Is the country better off if that's what they do? I don't know. You've really got to look at the specifics. We've got a great bonus show for you today with producer Pat Ford. We will be back next week with the regular show, the bonus show, and the vice presidential debate is next week. Kamala, I think she's going to crush Mike Pence. We'll see you next week if you're not a member. If you are a member, enjoy the bonus show coming up right after this. Thanks so much for watching today's full episode of the show. Just a reminder, today's sponsor is Blinkist, the app that lets you read or listen to an entire nonfiction book in just 15 minutes. You can try Blinkist for free and save 25% off of a subscription when you go to Blinkist.com/David Pakman. I've also included the link right underneath this video.